Hey man, the single greatest mistake men make with women is believing that love means making her the center of everything. From a young age, we're conditioned to believe that devotion equals sacrifice, that proving our love means prioritizing her above ourselves, our mission, and even our identity. So men pour everything into her: time, attention, resources, energy, until there's nothing left for themselves. At first, she seems to enjoy it. She soaks up the attention, she smiles at the effort, she revels in the pedestal you put her on. But here's the irony: the more you make her your world, the less she respects you. Because deep down, she doesn't want to be the center of your existence. She wants to orbit a man whose existence is already centered. And the more you neglect your purpose for her, the more she begins to see you as a man who's lost his backbone. What once attracted her now repels her. When you make her the center of your life, you destroy polarity, the tension that creates attraction. Women are drawn to men who have something bigger than them, driving their lives. A mission, a vision, a standard that comes before everything else. When she sees that you can't be moved off your path by beauty, seduction, or emotional storms, she feels both respect and desire. But when she realizes that she is your mission, that your entire identity revolves around pleasing her, the dynamic flips. She may still enjoy the benefits of being adored, but she won't feel that deep respect. Why? Because she knows she's leading the dance. She knows she's dictating your value. And women don't admire men, they control. They admire men they can't control. So when you make her the center, you hand over the very mystery and strength that made her chase you in the first place. Here's the paradox. The more you center your life on her, the more she tests you. At first, she may bask in the attention, but soon she begins to resent it. She pushes your boundaries, challenges your patience, and creates drama, not because she's evil, but because she's trying to find out if there's anything inside you that won't bend for her. Women crave the stability of a man who can resist them, who can stand firm even when she pulls with all her force. When she realizes you've given her that power, that she can derail your focus with a single mood swing, she loses respect. And once respect is gone, love follows. That's why so many men who gave her everything end up abandoned for the man who gave her far less, but never lost himself. She wasn't chasing his gifts, his affection, or his words. She was chasing his unshakable center. Another harsh reality is this: when you make her the center of your life, you stop being a man she looks up to and start being a man she manages. And women don't want to manage men, they want to admire them. The moment she senses that your energy, ambition, and purpose are being redirected into her instead of your mission, she begins to pull away. She may not even consciously know why. She'll say things like, "I just don't feel the same anymore," or "Something's missing." What's missing is your strength. What's missing is the fire she first respected. What's missing is the man who stood for something beyond her. You didn't lose her because you weren't loving enough. You lost her because you made her the entire point of your existence. And no woman can carry the weight of being a man's purpose. It will crush her, and eventually she'll run from it. You must understand this. Women are drawn to men whose lives are already full, already rich, already meaningful before she enters them. She wants to feel like she's joining your world, not becoming your world. The difference is everything. If she joins your world, she admires you. If she becomes your world, she controls you. And once she controls you, she loses attraction. That's why men who lose themselves in women always end up being left, even after years of sacrifice. Because in her eyes, he traded strength for devotion, and devotion without strength feels like weakness. You cannot build attraction on weakness. You cannot build respect on neediness. You cannot build love on making her your reason for living. Brother, your mission must always come first. Not because you don't care about her, but because caring too much destroys the very polarity that makes her care about you. When you make her the center of your life, you unknowingly place her in a role she was never built to handle. A woman doesn't want to be your god, your mission, or your source of identity, because the weight of that responsibility suffocates her. At first, she might enjoy the feeling of being prioritized above all else, but with time, it morphs into pressure she can't carry. She starts asking herself questions she'll never voice. Why is he so available? Doesn't he have anything else going on? If I'm the center of his world, does that mean he's not strong enough to build one of his own? And when those questions take root in her heart, respect begins to die. You see, brother, a woman only admires a man who has something bigger than her to live for, because deep down she doesn't want to lead. She wants to follow a man whose vision and purpose give her a reason to trust his leadership. What men fail to realize is that women don't leave men because they were loved too much. They leave men because they were loved in the wrong way. Making her the center of your life is the wrong way. It's a love built on dependence, on desperation, on the unspoken plea, please don't leave me, I've given you everything. But brother, that plea kills attraction. A woman doesn't want to be trapped by your need. She wants to be inspired by your strength. She doesn't want to feel like your existence falls apart without her. She wants to feel like she's stepping into a man's world that's already whole. That's why the men who keep women long term aren't the ones who suffocate them with constant attention. They're the ones who give her a taste of their world and let her decide if she can keep up. Because when she knows you'll keep building with or without her, she starts to respect you in ways desperation could never achieve. Let me tell you this, when you revolve around her, she begins to test you more aggressively. And these aren't small tests anymore. They're deep challenges meant to expose whether you've lost your frame completely. She'll pick fights over nothing. She'll make unreasonable demands. She'll push your buttons, not because she enjoys the chaos, but because she wants to see if you'll stand up to her or keep bending. And every time you bend, every time you cave, every time you prioritize her over your own truth, she loses more respect. That's why so many men are blindsided when a woman leaves after years of devotion. They think, I gave her everything, why wasn't it enough? But that was the problem. Giving her everything meant giving away your backbone. She didn't leave because you weren't kind enough. She left because you weren't strong enough to remain unmoved by her storms. She can't admire a man who's easy to move. Another consequence of making her the center of your life is that you lose polarity in the relationship. Polarity is the natural tension between masculine and feminine energy, the spark that keeps attraction alive. Masculine energy leads, builds, and stands firm in purpose. Feminine energy flows, tests, and responds. But when you put her above your mission, you reverse polarity. She becomes the leader, and you become the follower. And while she might tolerate it for a while, she'll never stay long-term in that role. Because women don't want to lead men. They want to feel led by men. They don't want to carry you. They want to feel carried by your vision. And brother, the moment she senses that you're orbiting her instead of building your own gravitational pull, she stops seeing you as masculine. And once a woman stops seeing you as masculine, her attraction to you dies a slow and inevitable death. You must burn this truth into your mind. The more you make her the center, the more invisible you become to her respect. Women don't fall for men who worship them. They fall for men who live in such alignment with themselves that she feels honored just to be included. When you make her your everything, you give her nothing to chase, nothing to admire, nothing to respect. You've already handed her the throne, and in doing so, you've stripped yourself of the very power she was drawn to. That's why men who make women their purpose always end up abandoned for the men who make purpose their life. It's not that she wanted less of your love. It's that she wanted you to love her in balance, not obsession. She wanted you to lead, not orbit. She wanted to join your world, not become it. And the moment you understand this, you'll never again destroy attraction by misplacing your devotion. When you make her the center of your life, you unknowingly erode your own masculinity. Masculinity thrives on mission, on progress, on building something bigger than yourself. It thrives when your energy is directed toward challenges, growth, and discipline. But the moment you redirect all that energy into her, you starve your masculine core. You lose the hunger to chase goals. You lose the fire to sharpen your craft. You lose the edge that made you magnetic in the first place. And here's the paradox. Those were the very traits that attracted her to you. She admired the man who was focused, the man who wasn't easily swayed, the man who had a direction. But once you made her your direction, she saw the man she admired dissolve into the man she tolerates. And a woman might stay out of comfort, but she'll never truly desire a man who abandons his mission for her. Another painful truth is this: women can't handle being the purpose of your life. At first she might smile when you call her your everything. It sounds romantic. It strokes her ego. It gives her the illusion of being irreplaceable. But deep down, it makes her uneasy, because she knows she's human, flawed, emotional, inconsistent. And no woman wants to feel like your entire sense of worth depends on her moods. It doesn't make her feel safe. It makes her feel suffocated. She doesn't want to be worshipped like a goddess. She wants to stand beside a god in motion. She doesn't want to be the mountain. You are supposed to be the mountain. And the man who puts her on the throne she never asked for ends up watching her resent the crown. Respect withers when she realizes she's leading a man instead of following him. And attraction dies when she sees her man's entire identity crumble without her approval. Women may crave your love, but they crave your leadership even more. When you center her, you're not leading, you're following. You're waiting for her to decide the direction of the relationship, the tone of the connection, the depth of commitment, and women test men endlessly to see if they'll lead, not because they want control, but because they want to feel safe surrendering. But when you make her the center, you've already surrendered. You've handed her the wheel and told her to drive, even though she doesn't want the responsibility. And so she tests you harder, growing resentful at every turn, because deep down, she wants to feel like you're unshakable. And here's the truth. She doesn't need you to follow her emotions. She needs you to stand firm when she can't. But if you orbit her instead of leading, she won't feel safe with you. She'll feel restless, and eventually she'll leave you behind. Making her the center also kills your ambition in subtle ways you won't even notice until years have passed. You start skipping the gym because she wants more time with you. You stop grinding at your career because you'd rather be at her side. You neglect your passions, your hobbies, your brotherhood because you've convinced yourself she's all you need. And what happens when you strip a man of his ambition? He becomes soft, dull, predictable. He becomes the opposite of the man she first admired. And women by nature are drawn to men who are going somewhere. They don't respect men who idle in comfort zones. So when you make her your only destination, she loses interest. Not because she's cruel, but because she can't admire a man who's stagnant. She may still say, "I love you," but the spark is gone, because that spark was always tied to your drive, your edge, your momentum, not your constant availability. Remember this, women want to join a man's journey, not become the journey. She wants to feel like she's walking beside a man who is already in motion, not like she's dragging him forward. The men who keep women's respect are the ones who never stop building, never stop growing, never stop chasing the horizon. And here's the beautiful part. When she sees you relentlessly pursuing your purpose, she doesn't feel neglected. She feels inspired. She feels proud to be with a man who refuses to bend his entire world around her. Because that tells her something crucial. If you won't bend for her, you won't bend for anyone. You're solid, you're unshakable, and in that strength, she feels the freedom to embrace her femininity without fearing that you'll crumble under her weight. That's the paradox of attraction. The less you make her your center, the more she wants to stay in your orbit. The moment you decide that she is the center of your life, you also decide that her approval is more important than your principles. And once you cross that line, everything begins to unravel. You start second-guessing yourself, wondering if your choices will upset her. You hold back your opinions because you fear conflict. You soften your edges because you want to keep her comfortable. And while she may tolerate this for a while, deep down she begins to resent it. Why? Because she doesn't respect a man who needs her validation more than he needs his own self-respect. Women want to feel your strength, not your compliance. They want to know that you'll stand firm, even when it upsets them, even when it risks their approval, because only then do they trust that you'll stand firm when life itself tests you. But if you orbit her instead of reality, if you bend to her every mood, she will eventually see you as weak. And no woman stays loyal to weakness. Another reason you must never make her the center of your life is because obsession always turns into resentment. When a woman realizes you've built your entire identity around her, she begins to feel trapped. At first, she may bask in it. It feels flattering to be adored like a queen. But the longer it continues, the heavier it becomes. She feels like she can't breathe without disappointing you. Every mood swing, every bad day, every withdrawal of affection feels catastrophic to you because your happiness depends on her, and that weight suffocates her. Soon, the very love she once enjoyed begins to feel like a burden. And here's the twist. Once she feels suffocated, she starts to pull away. And when she pulls away, your obsession grows even stronger. That cycle destroys respect, attraction, and eventually, the relationship itself. Brother, obsession is not love, it's control disguised as devotion, and women will always run from it. Women may test you, they may challenge you, but deep down, they crave boundaries. A man without boundaries is not attractive. He's dangerous to himself and exhausting to her. When you make her the center of your life, you erase your boundaries in the name of love. You accept behaviors you never should. You tolerate disrespect you never would. You excuse things that violate your standards because you're terrified of losing her. But here's the truth. Every time you lower a boundary, you lower her respect for you. Women don't admire men who let them run unchecked. They admire men who calmly, firmly enforce their standards without apology. And if you think making her your center will keep her, you're wrong. It will make her test harder, push further, and eventually walk away when she sees you've lost all self-respect. Boundaries are not walls. They're the frame that holds your masculinity together. Lose them and you lose her. The tragedy is that many men only realize this after it's too late. They give years, sometimes decades, making her the center of their universe, only to be discarded for a man who barely gave her half as much. And they sit there broken, wondering, how could she leave after everything I gave her? But brother, that's the cruel irony. She didn't leave because you gave too little. She left because you gave too much. You suffocated her with your devotion. You killed the polarity with your obsession. You abandoned yourself for her comfort. And while another man may not treat her with the same endless attention, he provides something you no longer did: strength, direction, and boundaries. That's what women admire. That's what they crave. And that's what you lose the second you make her your world. The lesson is harsh but simple. The more you orbit her, the faster she drifts away. So never make her the center of your life, because your life was never meant to orbit anyone but yourself and your mission. A woman is meant to complement your world, not define it. She is meant to add to your peace, not replace your purpose. When you place her at the center, you make her responsible for your happiness, your direction, your identity, and no woman can carry that weight. She will collapse under it, and she will resent you for giving it to her. But when you stand firm, when you lead with your mission, when you make your world so strong and complete that she feels lucky to be part of it, then she thrives. She admires you, she respects you, she stays, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Brother, love her deeply, care for her fully, but never confuse love with orbit. Your life must always revolve around your vision. She can join the journey, but she must never become the destination. The man who makes his mission the center of his life never loses himself, no matter what happens with women. Because when your focus is anchored in something bigger than her storms don't sink you, her moods don't derail you, her tests don't define you. You remain steady, consistent, unshakable, and this is what women secretly admire the most. Not the man who gives them every ounce of attention, but the man who never breaks his alignment with himself. When she sees that your work, your vision, your purpose still stand above everything else, she feels drawn deeper, not because you've made her the sun in your sky, but because she can sense your gravity. And here's the irony: the less you make her the center, the more she wants to stay close. Because women don't want to orbit emptiness, they want to orbit a world that already exists, a life that already thrives, a man who already stands tall. This is why your mission must always be untouchable, because without it, you become lost the moment she leaves. And she will test this, brother. She will try to see if she can pull you off course. She will demand more of your time, more of your energy, more of your attention, not to destroy you, but to see if you're real. If you crumble, she knows you're a man who bends. If you stay grounded, she knows you're a man who leads. That's why women respect men who remain rooted in their path, even when it frustrates them. It shows her that your value doesn't rise and fall with her emotions. It stands independent, and women can only truly respect what they cannot control. When she sees that your mission is your anchor, she knows she must earn her place in your life, not the other way around. And that dynamic keeps respect alive far longer than blind devotion ever could. Here's the paradox that most men never understand. The moment you stop making her your world, you become the very world she doesn't want to leave. Because what women crave isn't worship, it's gravity. They want to feel pulled into a man's orbit, a man whose life already has structure, purpose, and vision. The man who orbits her eventually suffocates her because he has no weight of his own. But the man who lives in alignment with his mission becomes magnetic. He doesn't have to beg, doesn't have to chase, doesn't have to smother. His very existence draws her deeper. And even if she tests him, even if she pushes against his boundaries, she never truly wants him to collapse. Because deep down, she knows her attraction lives in his strength. That's why the men who never lose themselves to women always keep women chasing. They're not harsh, they're not cold, they're simply too focused on their mission to bend. And here's the truth that sets you free. Your mission will outlast every relationship. Women may come and go, feelings may rise and fall, love may ignite and burn out, but your mission, the reason you wake up, the vision you build, the legacy you leave, that remains. That's why no woman can ever truly respect a man who abandons his mission for her, because she knows that if he gives up his path for her, he's a man who will collapse when life tests him, and no woman feels safe with that man. But the man who stays rooted in his mission shows her something rare, stability, that no mood, no storm, no betrayal can destroy. That's the man she fears losing, that's the man she respects, and that's the man who never confuses love with orbit, because he knows women may leave, but purpose never does. And when you choose purpose first, you always win. with or without her. So remember this, never make her the center of your life, because the center belongs to you, to your mission, to your values, to your vision. She is meant to walk beside you, not replace your purpose. She is meant to complement your world, not become it. And if you hold firm to this truth, you'll never again be destroyed by the illusion of love that demands you lose yourself. Because a man who puts himself and his mission first doesn't just keep his dignity, he keeps her respect. He doesn't just maintain his strength, he maintains her attraction. And even if she leaves, he doesn't crumble, because his life was never built around her in the first place. That's the difference between men who lose themselves and men who lead. One makes her the center and watches everything collapse. The other builds his own center and lets her orbit it if she can handle the gravity. Be the latter always,